G'day, Michael. Thanks for coming in today.
No worries.
Do you have any idea what I've dragged you in for?
I feel like it's the Spanish Inquisition, actually.
It almost is. It almost is. Except you got no notice for this, whereas the Spanish Inquisition give you at least 30 days notice.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, there you go. But what I do want to do is just run a couple of really simple bullion-related questions past you. How's that sound?
This will be interesting.
All right. So let's start with question number 1. What is bullion?
Oh, good grief. Bullion is, it's a variety of things to a variety of people. Some people see it as a store of wealth, which I would absolutely agree with. Some people see it as a hobby, as an interest. I guess if you had to define it though, you'd have to say it's a precious metal that has withstood the generations, the millennia, as a store of wealth in uncertain times.
Beautiful. What is the point of investing in bullion?
I think, well, again, different people have different points as to why they buy bullion. Some people, purely it is that literal store of wealth. So what I can buy for $3,000, we all know, you can tell by my grey hair that I've seen inflation over many years, and I know that $3,000 when I was a teenager certainly bought a lot more than it does today. The theory is that you invest in bullion and that $3,000 worth of bullion maintains its same purchasing power over time. So that is why a lot of people buy it. Some people buy it just because they like it. They like the feel of it. Some people don't really know why they buy it. They just know that their parents and grandparents and great-grandparents bought it and it was a good idea. Some people buy it for transfer of wealth. If I'm moving from place A to place B, it's an easy way to take my wealth with me and know that it will be accepted wherever I'm going. So there's a whole variety of reasons why people invest in bullion.
You mentioned a little bit about when you were a bit younger. What was your first steps when it comes to investing in bullion?
My first steps were as a coin collector. As a young kid, I collected coins, and eventually I ended up collecting coins that had a precious metal content to them. So then I started investigating what precious metals were, what they meant, the history of them, the place in society, all that sort of stuff, and developed an interest from there, and began investing in precious metals for the sake of the precious metal itself.
When you were a kid and you first started collecting coins, what was it? Do you remember exactly what it was that attracted you to investing in those coins?
Yeah, I've always had an interest in investment, whether it be precious metals, coins, shares, cars, property, any of those kind of things from an investing perspective. But coins fascinated me because of their history. Even today, when I pick up a sovereign, you wonder where it's been and what it's seen, because your average Australian gold sovereign has been through the gold rush of this country. It's been through a couple of world wars. All those types of things, and you sit there and I sit there and wonder. A classic example is a gentleman who came in here into the store one day and still had the sovereign coin that had been sewn into either his father's or his grandfather's bomber jacket during World War II and carried around with him. So it's tales like that coins tell that has fascinated me for years.
For someone who's literally just getting into investing in bullion, have you got any simple tips?
A couple. Find someone you trust is probably the big one, whether that be a friend, a relative, or a bullion dealer. Poke around, go to a few bullion dealers and take some recommendations from people. So that's the big thing, because a bullion dealer can absolutely make you or break you. If they're setting out to make the most premium out of you, they're all running businesses, don't get me wrong here. But if they're setting out to make as much premium out of you as possible, as much profit out of you, without taking your needs into consideration, you're on a hiding to nothing. So find yourself a good advisor when you're first starting out. And then my second piece of advice would be take it slow. We see so many people launch in, I've got, $100,000, $200,000, and I don't know anything about it. And they're trusting us, and I would say we're eminently trustable. But, they're trusting us to give them the right advice. I'm far more comfortable if they come in with a bit of background to it. So ease yourself into it. If you've got If you've got $100 to spend or $100,000 to spend, spend a little bit at a time. You know, you don't have to spend the whole amount in the one hit. So, you know, buy a small bar, buy a couple of coins, work out what it is that you like, and then take off down that direction.
Now, how do you do your own research?
I talk to people, always keeping in mind where their biases are, and I don't mean that as a criticism. If you talk to someone like me, you need to understand that I'm a bullion dealer. I'm trying to sell you gold and silver and platinum and palladium and rhodium, so everything I say has to be taken in that context. If you're talking to someone who's adamant that that gold is the only way to go, that you must invest in gold, you've got to understand that their advice to you comes with a bias, comes with a flavour. Or if you're talking to someone that says, no, don't deal with precious metals, you know, you can only invest in shares or property or whatever it is, then you've got to understand where their biases are coming from. So understanding that bias is probably the big thing. So that's one of the types of research I do. The other type is reading. I do lots and lots and lots and lots of reading, whether it be mainstream newspapers, non-mainstream media, other dealers, other collectors, stackers, all those types of things. I read and consume as much as I can, and particularly if it goes counter to what I believe, because I want to know why they believe that, and then I want to know, does my belief stand up to the tests that they're throwing at me.
And now the last one, you're probably going to scoff at me for this one, but in your opinion, do you think it's worth investing in bullion?
I'll give you an answer you're not probably expecting sometimes. I'm not one of these people that says absolutely go all in gold or all in silver, you know. I firmly believe that diversification holds a key. But you have to be careful within that diversification. I don't mean buy a bit of everything, because then you get very, very average results. I mean, understand that, you know, gold holds a place. Understand that silver holds a place. Understand that platinum holds a place in a precious metal portfolio, but also property plays a place in your investment, as does shares, as does other investments. They all hold a place. You just have to work out if that place is where you're at in life at the moment, or maybe it's for later, or maybe it's for now, or maybe it's been and maybe it's yet to come. So I'm a firm believer that it should be a part of your investment, but I'm a firm believer in it shouldn't be the only part and the only consideration in your investment.
Well, beautiful. That's all the questions I had for today. Thank you so much for your time, Michael.
No worries.
And we'll see you in the next one.
Sounds good.